Hey guys, I want to talk today about the concept of having kind of like an all-inclusive jujitsu that works for all weight classes. Okay, when I think about all-inclusive jujitsu, I think about a few different concepts. First of all, I like jujitsu that works. There's a few exceptions, but mainly a game that could work well for gi, no gi, MMA and street. I consider MMA and street different. But what I'm going to talk about today is jujitsu that can work well for all weight classes. So this can mean something different for different people, but my goal is to have jujitsu that could work well against people smaller than me and people bigger than me. And there is a misconception that whatever you do, it will always work for people smaller than you, but not necessarily bigger than you. I would definitely say that's not true because there's pros and cons to each weight class. Okay, so for me, for example, I would be like a super heavy or ultra heavy, like depending on how I diet or something. So there's certain techniques that I should probably focus on against bigger guys, and then other techniques I should focus on against guys my weight or even lighter than me. Okay, so against bigger guys, I want to definitely make sure I'm not being smashed and stuff. And they'll like sit back on their knees, put their weight on you. And they'll try and just like stay on the top for the most part. They usually don't like to pull guard. I mean, I'm speaking in generalities, but this is the most common like trend. So for techniques like that, or for opponents like that, people who are my size or actually particularly bigger than me, I like doing stuff like, knee shield half guard, maybe butterfly guard, maybe single leg X, maybe if I can get them to 50-50 because they can't put all their weight on me, stuff like coyote guard, the underhook half guard, where I'm off to their side and they can't like directly sprawl on me. If I can get to deep half guard, great, but I know that that's going to be hard to do sometimes. Leg locks, taking the back, all those stuff work great against big guys. Guillotine chokes. If the guy like sits back and doesn't like let you get up under him, but he leans forward, he gives you access to his head. Stuff like that. But there's pros and cons. Like with big guys, I don't have to worry as much about them being so fast and doing like toriandos around my guard. They're usually like, there's always a plus and minus. So for being big, it's great because you tend to be stronger than most of your opponents, and you can just lean your weight on them, be really good at using pressure passes and just wait for them to tire out. And usually you're hard to submit for certain submissions because you have big shoulders and you're just strong. You have like a strong, you can pull your arms back and it's hard to get you in arm bars and triangles, but you're going to be slower. Okay, so it's going to be easier to get around to your back. You're not going to be as good as side-to-side passing, toriando passing. You're probably going to have not as good cardio as some guy who's like 150 pounds. Okay, so what I noticed like for myself is that it's easier to play stuff like half guard and get into positions I want to do against bigger guys, whereas against lighter guys, even like middleweights who are fast or like medium heavy or whatever, even like super heavy people, those guys, they're like relatively heavy, but they tend to be like more fast, athletic. Sometimes it's hard to get into the positions I want, and I need to have better open guard retention because they're going to be doing like fast X passes, dynamic knee cut passing, long step passing. So that just because like a guy is lighter, it can actually be harder. Like he can actually be harder to deal with versus like a bigger, heavier guy where I know where they're going to be. I feel like I'm quicker than them and I can get up under them easier because they have more space. Like Lucas Leite, I think he's a middleweight. I'm not sure, but he talks about this concept. He goes up like at least maybe like 2 weight classes above what his actual weight class is because he feels like he can get up under the guys more and they give him more space and he's more used to like the bigger guy passing style, and it works great for his game. So I feel like similar in that aspect, but I think to have like a complete jiu-jitsu, we all have to have a certain game that or strategy we can utilize for some people who are bigger than us, our size, and smaller than us. And probably a lot of people just focus on against people their size, because when they compete at the same weight class. They're used to seeing the same type of body types, people, age group, people who do similar techniques. Okay, so if you're like much lighter, you might focus on, berimbolo stuff, etc., etc. Whereas if you're bigger, you might focus on different techniques. But I think it's good to have a game that you can adapt for all weight classes. And this works too for like maybe you're going to change weight classes. You see people like Andre Galvao over the growth of his career, he's increased his weight class like dramatically. And there's other people like that. Okay. The other thing is, I think important to consider is how do you pass the guard? Okay, I definitely recommend you have at least 2 or 3 very strong ways you like to pass. And I would recommend you focus on 2 or 3 instead of being mediocre in a ton of different type of passing, being extremely strong in a few. Okay, and you can, let's say you have like an A passing game at blue belt, and then you can keep developing that, and then at the next belt add another passing game, and it's like adding like brick layers onto your jiu-jitsu house foundation. Okay, so for me, being a bigger guy, but I think pressure passing works great for even smaller guys. And you see even guys like Tanquinho, I don't know, he might be 150 pounds or less, but he has a great pressure passing game. So I think pressure passing works well despite whatever size you are, but speed passing only works well if you're like a freak athlete or you're lighter. Okay, so me, for example, I'm going to be so tired, and if I try speed passing, and I'm also like clumsy, I'm not fast, I'm not super coordinated, I'm like 230 pounds plus or minus, so I'm not going to go to speed passing primarily. Okay, but pressure passing, I feel like yes, I have the weight there, but it's more based on technique. If I can put my weight in the right spots, I can wear the other guy down. I can sit and rest when I'm tired in certain strategic positions and take my time to pass. Okay, so that's what I like. I do like to avoid the knee cut in general, with some exceptions. The traditional knee cut where you just like wade into the person's guard and you knee cut. I'm not talking about the smash half knee cut. I'm talking about the traditional knee cut. I think it's especially for no gi, it's very risky. But even for gi, if the guy is bigger than you, they can almost always explode out. So even I don't know. I would just be very wary about putting so much emphasis into developing a passing style that doesn't work against a certain subtype group. The other thing I will say is that, like, let's say, I've rolled with people who are like way smaller than me. There's certain passes I definitely would not use. So I definitely wouldn't try doing the Toriando on a person who's way smaller than me, because they can always like bend their knees in and recover guard easily. So for those type of people, I feel that like over under or stack passing, especially stack passing, is very effective, because you can slowly control the pace of the pass and all the fine details. I do love half guard smash passing, which I think everyone should have in their game, where you kind of, you flatten out the person and you make your way to either mount or side control. But that can be harder to do against someone who's way smaller than you, because you keep giving them space to get back up under you to go to like half butterfly or deep half guard, or just recover like butterfly guard or whatever. The other thing I will say is that if you do this like smash half passing, is extremely powerful. I love to do it. You have to just be careful how you pass against someone bigger than you. So now when you go to mount, it's dangerous if the guy is bigger than you. If you go directly to mount, because right when you like lift your hips to bring your leg out and go fully to mount, at that split second your weight is like a little forward, and if the guy is smart, he can like bridge in you right when you do that. It isn't just because they're bigger, like it involves actual technique. And Buchecha, I've seen him like show a breakdown of there's a actual specific technique how he coordinates the legs and stuff. So it's like very nice and intricate. But the point is, if you're like a smaller guy and you go against a bigger guy, there's a risk for that. So in that case, I would just go straight to knee cut into the side control. It's fewer points, but you don't want to be swept that way. The other thing is, like I said, I think stack passing and like over under pressure passing works great regardless on your size, and smash half passing. Like I said, I'd be weary of knee cut passing. With gi, it's a little easier because you have the lapel and the sleeve grip, but it's still against like someone very good in half guard. They can totally reverse the position on you and get up into a single leg, even if you do like perfect passing mechanics. So there's a lot of passes out there. I'd stick to 2 or 3, maybe 4 that like definitely work pretty much regardless of your size. Okay, let me know what kind of games you guys like to play against guys bigger than you or smaller than you, and how you change that up in the comments below. And stay tuned for more. Thanks, guys.